for a lot of people is they're kind of all over the place. They don't really know exactly what needs to be done and where. They're not really sure. So
Yeah.
when we bring them in, we show them our templates and we show them that we have all this stuff in place, that we have processes for this. They When you have to rely on somebody who does a process, when you actually have to hire somebody who's educated and they know everything they're doing, they'll come in and they'll want to do things their way. For a submission, you can create a new form, whatever you want to do through the jot form. Once this fires off, it's going to start to get the next thing.
All right, you fine, beautiful motherfuckers. I have brought on another legend. I got Chase Snow with me. And Chase is a lot of times I hear from people because they're really good at like branding and marketing themselves, and not that he's not good at those things, but I Chase has become on my radar because a lot of our mastermind members are using him to do really cool stuff at scale. And what he's helping people to do is create automation, especially on the delivery side of agencies, so that as you start adding 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, maybe even some of you guys want to get to like 300 clients, those of you who are extra crazy. I'm not that crazy anymore. But when you start getting to those numbers, it's like, how do you make things happen at scale? And so I wanted to bring Chase on here and show you guys some of the cool stuff he's doing to like not just use automation to make it easier at scale, but to make things happen automatically and create great client experiences that are done by, technology rather than like you having to push all the buttons and levers. So firstly, Chase, let me say welcome.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to finally be here in person, meet you, and get all this stuff done. Actually,
Oh,
I'm excited to talk about this stuff because it definitely makes lives easier for sure.
yeah. 1,000%, by the way. We were actually just talking. I think it's probably a good place to start if you're open to share the little screen. But
Yeah,
one of the things that can be a real stickler for people at scale is onboarding, like getting client passwords, but not just doing that in a way where you're welcoming them into your business and they're feeling good about that decision. And you've got some really really cool shit that I wanted to show our people for onboarding people at scale. Wonder if you could show
yeah,
us a little. I'm not seeing your screen right
absolutely.
now. I don't know if you've got the screen share
One
enabled or
sec.
not.
There we go. You see that?
Yeah. So by the way, I just want to add a little note while we're loading here. I've had a lot of people in our mastermind and different agency owners tell me like, hey, it's a lot of work for me to onboard clients. I can only do 2 a week, and if you can only onboard 2 clients a week, that's as big as your agency can ever be. You've essentially got the infrastructure, so if you wanted to, you could add 100 in a week. Not that I would recommend it, but
It comes with its struggles for sure. Depends on, I guess, how much fulfillment you have to do, right?
right.
And so I know for us, when we were doing our agency, we started our agency in 2020 and we built that agency up to like 50K when it was at its max. And one of the biggest things was that it was taking us like 3 hours to onboard somebody. It was just trying to get the Google Docs set up,
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we had a folder to load all
Especially
the
if you're
media
in, by the
into.
way, like for those of us, like I'm in the lawyer niche, a lot of people are in niches like mine where they're not like super technologically savvy. Like trying to get a lawyer to give you access to a business manager is not like a simple task, even though it's like 2 clicks, 3 clicks, just like getting them to understand what
Yep.
you're actually doing. And then saying, well, now you have a page and an ad manager, things like that.
Yep. Well, and the biggest thing too is like there's a plethora of tools out there to try and streamline your whole onboarding process with, or even like the fulfillment processes and stuff like that too. And sometimes tools make things harder. Sometimes
Yeah.
adding another automation tool in the mix can just break other processes that were working. It can add more time to what you're doing. Sometimes other newer applications on the market don't integrate well with other things, and so that's something that you want to keep in mind. Like sometimes it's better to keep things simple. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
better just to keep it as simple as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in our agency, the biggest things that we wanted to automate were the onboarding, offboarding for employees and clients. And then one of the major things was trying to streamline fulfillment as much as possible. Like we wanted
Yeah.
our KPI reporting to happen automatically. We wanted to make sure that when the KPIs came in, that we had notifications being fired off to our Slack and stuff like that too, so we could stay on top of things.
Yeah.
And we were running ads on Facebook at first. Facebook kind of fell apart with the iOS stuff, and so we quickly kind of just jumped ship and just got into Google. And one thing that I wanted to happen was for the Google accounts to be created automatically, for
Yeah.
the initial campaigns to be created automatically. We wanted to streamline our negative lists and things like that for the negative keywords, and so that we could just get things done quickly. Because one thing that I noticed was like each individual process was taking me hours of time to try and set up.
Yeah.
And so to cut out those hours and try and make clients happy faster, like because we would quote them like 2 weeks out, like, okay, well your ads are going to be live in 2 weeks. And obviously, like we read Alex Hormozy's book, and it's like, well, you want that Xanax solution. So you want to make things happen as fast as possible, so
Yeah.
that the clients stay happy, and so you have higher retention. They want to bring more people in,
Yeah,
and
not
so
just
that
that,
was
you
one of
want to
the
make it as painless on their end, like you don't want to have to
right.
contact them 27 times to get all the passwords and accounts you need and all those kind of things. I wonder if Chase, if you could just zoom in a little bit and kind of just
Yeah.
walk us through a little bit, and I guess we'll start at step one. And
Yeah. So the biggest thing is when it comes to automations, like we use this tool Whimsical to try and diagram everything out. We use this for our strategy sessions to try and plan for clients and things like that too. And we have all of our templates here to help us kind of stay on track with things, to help us step by step get things done. Because what we do can only be automated to a certain extent because we're actually coming in and automating things for everybody else. And so we have to get certain access to things. And there's only so much that we can do with our onboarding
yeah,
process, the way we run things. And so, really, what we try and do with everybody who we get into their business when we first get in there is we try and set up their project management software first. I mean, that could be ClickUp, that can be Asana, that can be Monday. However, you decide to keep track of everything, it really is up to you. Every tool kind of works in its own way, and every tool has its pitfalls, every tool has its pros and
yeah.
cons.
Can I just say,
And
by the
so,
way, this is brilliant because what most people need to do before you get into any tools and project management is actually just exactly what you did here, like pen and paper, like what's all the shit we got to get done. And then usually,
yeah,
like you mentioned, is there anything I could simplify here before I start automating and all that? And then you actually want to
exactly.
build the project management out of this, not the other way around. I see people like load up project management without a plan and then don't understand how to like be useful with it. But first you have after a really clear picture of like what are we actually doing for these clients, what are we actually
Yes.
making happen, what do we need access to, like what's everything that's got to happen for all the trains to run on time.
And see, that's the biggest thing is I've realized like we've been in the back end of a lot of different agencies, like $200,000 a month agencies, $50,000 a month agencies, $500,000 a month agencies, $1 million a month people too, like for physical businesses and things like that too, trying to help them streamline their processes. And the biggest thing that we have to understand when it comes into it, like when we get into the strategy session, is okay, do you need all these tools? Do you have the right tools in place? Do your employees know what to do? Do you have any SOPs? And usually the answer to all that stuff is no.
Yeah.
So they're
Right.
usually just trying to kind of all over the place. Like, yeah, we started out with Trello too, and we thought Trello was going to be a streamlined option for us, but there was just a lot of things that Trello didn't do for us. And so we switched to ClickUp personally. But like I said, I mean, we've used Asana, we've used Monday, and I know a lot of people that use
Yeah.
Asana and Monday and they love it and they have great processes in it too. Really, it's just a matter of what gets it done for you. And
Yeah,
so
and
what we've
I'll
seen a
tell you
lot.
guys, when you if you really want to scale your agency and remove yourself, this is such a crucial step because you have to have like a clear checklist of step one, step two, step three, step four, and all the little subtasks that go into that because it doesn't sound like a big deal when you got like 3 to 5 clients or like less than that. But when you start having like 50 or 100 different people you're doing this for, if you don't have like really streamlined checklists, even just explaining it to somebody will take you mountains of time to
Yep.
before you even like, start trying to execute any of that.
No doubt, no doubt. That's been one of the biggest issues we've seen for a lot of people is they're kind of all over the place. They don't really know exactly what needs to be done and where. They're not really sure. So
Yeah.
when we bring them in, we show them our templates and we show them that we have all this stuff in place, that we have processes for this. They're just relieved immediately because they're like, okay, well, what needs to be in place? Because what I've seen with ClickUp is a lot of people will jump in there and they'll start making a list for every single client. They'll start making a list for every single service. And the biggest thing is too is a lot of agencies and entrepreneurs in general have shiny object syndrome, like to the T.
No, not
They all
us.
they all think they need to run Facebook ads and Google ads and TikTok ads and SEO. They need to do all that stuff, and it's like, well, you're going to be a lot more benefited and a lot less stressed if you just focus on one of those things and making it work perfectly. And so that's the biggest thing is trying to trim the fat. Really, the biggest thing that we need to do when we first
Yeah.
come into this is like
All
let's
right.
trim it up as much as we can. Let's try and
Yeah,
get as
I would
many
say that
people.
that's probably a two-parter for me, at least
Yeah,
when I create that my agency is come up with all the tasks first and then trim the fat before you try and automate or scale that.
Well, it comes down to input and output. So, like, what is the input? What is the output? What's the desired output? Because obviously, a lot of people think that they need to add every single
Yeah.
service because they think it's going to get them more sales. They think they can have a higher ticket product with it. And it's like, well, you could charge half as much and offer the one service, and you'd be a lot less stressed, and you'd probably get
Yeah.
more clients out of it
And
too.
20 times more profitable often.
Exactly,
Because
because
I've
then
met
you're
people with
focused,
like
people are happy.
elaborate $20,000 services that are keeping $1,000 a month. And I've met
Yep.
agency owners with $1,500 a month services that keep the whole thing. And I ask you
Yep.
who's actually accomplishing more in that scenario.
Well, one big thing that was really insightful for me when we first got into this was we got into the back end of two different $200,000 a month agencies, and there were drastic differences in how they ran things. Like one of them was focused just on Facebook ads. That's all he did. Facebook ads for painters. That was it. He had over 100 clients. He had 6 employees managing 100 clients, and all of his clients are happy, and he's traveling the world and seeing everything he wants to see, doing everything he wants to do. And he's got money in his pocket. He's got the margins for it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's a lot less stressed, way easier to work with. Whereas the other person, they're trying to offer everything under the sun. Like they're trying to offer Google My Business ranking. They're trying to offer SEO. They're trying to offer Google ads, Facebook ads, all this stuff
Yeah.
because they think that they need to offer a full stack marketing service when that just creates a lot more stress because you have to
Yeah.
get more employees. You need to have more media buyers in place. And at the same time, they're trying to take over all the calls for everybody. So they've got to have all the agents out there dialing out and
And it's
cycle through
confusing as
agents
fuck
like crazy.
marketing message at the same time.
Exactly. And so she's stressed out all the time. I mean, she's making the money, but she doesn't have the margins and they're just stressed out to their wits' end when it comes down to it. And so that's one thing that we noticed was the people that keep it simple are a lot less stressed. They have more
Yeah.
clients, they have more money,
The
they
more
have higher
scalable
margins.
agency, I can confirm that firsthand,
Yes.
having been both of those $200,000 agencies at different
Oh,
points in
me
my
too.
life. I can tell you what that's like. Can you scroll over to step two now that we've kind of got a
Yeah.
picture of?
And so that's the big thing is listing it out. Once you get it all kind of listed out, then we come in here and try to just design it out over here and see, okay, what needs to be done and where and when. Okay, we need to create a Google Drive folder.
Yeah, and by
We
the
need to
way,
update the
I
master
just like to
client
throw it out
list.
there for everybody listening to this. Like a lot of you guys are in the same situation where you've got a lot of software that's got to talk to each other, Google Drives that's got to connect to Asana and stuff. So like what Chase is diagramming here is like actually like make what I call making the trains run on time is having all the software and tools and he's mentioned ClickUp as well as Go High Level and just
Yes.
welcoming them in Gmails, having all those things talk to each other.
Well, the biggest thing that I noticed when we started using Asana was that Asana was really simple. Like it was just basically checklists, and then you just check everything off, and it was great for SOPs and tasking and recurring tasks and things like that. But what it didn't do was give us a solid client management system. So it was really hard to keep track of clients through Asana, trying to keep track of how like client health and like getting the customer service agent in there and like following up with them all the time. And so realistically, like you need to have multiple touch points when you first have clients. And so you need to reach out to them on a regular basis, like every 3 days, every 7 days at a minimum. And
Yeah.
so you want that stuff to happen automatically. So you want your customer service agent to come in and say, okay, who do I
Yeah.
need to reach out to? Who hasn't been
Yeah.
reached out to in a long time? What is the client health? What are all the notes and all that stuff for that? And so we had to have Monday for that. So we picked up Monday and Asana, and then we realized, well, we need less applications. So we switched to ClickUp for that reason. We switched to Go High Level for that reason because it simplified everything that we had in place here. We didn't want to use anything that didn't integrate well. We didn't want to use anything that was going to step up the system because then you would have to have a two-step onboarding
Yeah.
process. You have the first step that does everything automatically, and then you have the next step for the employee who gets delegated to finish everything up. Which I mean, we still do that to a certain extent, but it simplifies the
Yeah.
process immensely, and it really
So
cuts down on time.
So what he's talking about, just like to give you guys the level of fucking genius that he's kind of sharing with you guys, because I'm not sure this is so advanced. Maybe I'm probably over talking here, but I probably wouldn't have even got this the first time. What Chase is doing is imagine you get a new client, they come in the door, and on the back end you've got a set of tasks already ready to go, so that the client gets sent a landing page, they fill in their necessary information automatically, that adds them to this system, to that system, queues them up for
Right.
welcome emails, and then you're now proactively communicating about what's going on and how their account is going. You're no longer waiting. What most people do, by the way, is Josh Nelson has a brilliant description of it. What he calls is radio silence for 30 days, right? Like your agency doesn't talk to you for 30 days. At the end of the month, you get a monthly report. Client wonders what the hell just happened last month. They don't know, is this good? Is this bad? you're doing this in a much more proactive, scalable way where you're creating a great client experience. So they just have a little bit of info to fill in, and then all of a sudden they're getting a request for their Google Drive. They got to click a couple
Yep.
buttons, hit go. High levels communicating with them. They feel informed, and all of that is happening in the background without the agency owner running around like the chicken with his head fucking cut off, trying to send messages, trying to
It
get
gets real.
access to Google Drives, trying to get access to a Facebook account or whatever. All of those are just kind of like moving, and that's what he's kind of diagramming here. I just had to say that because it's almost
Yeah.
so genius that I've actually never heard anything like it before.
So the biggest thing too, what we noticed when we were in our agency, when we were trying to build everything out, was like we're really all about client retention. We come from customer service backgrounds, and like we really want to make sure that we retain as many clients as possible when they get in the system. And so really what that comes down to is proper expectations and touch points. Like you got to be
Yep.
reaching out to them often. You got to be notified to
Thousand
reach out to them
percent.
often, especially if you have an employee in charge of it, because they're not just going to take the initiative and do it most of the time. They're pretty much going to wait around most of the time, twiddle their thumbs until you tell them something to do, which is what we noticed was happening with us. And so a lot of our clients were unhappy because of that. We had to put out fires all the time when we were
Yeah.
first starting out. And it took us hours to try and get things set up. Like it would take us hours to get into a high level account and set everything up there, and then make sure that we did the tracking through Google Tag Manager and all that stuff, setting up their Google Ad account. I mean, it was hours and hours of time. And then we realized we could use a tool like Make. That's the one that we use to automate everything. It was informally Integromat, but now it's Make. And so we use that instead of Zapier or instead of like Pabbly or anything like that. I really think any of them will work for you. Like Zapier is more user friendly, a lot more user friendly. If that's what you need to do, like it will still do all of these things. It doesn't matter really which tool you use. We use Make because it gives us a little more control over the process. It lets us kind of program things in. It's got a visual programming system. We can access the APIs of Go High Level and ClickUp and stuff like that too. That's really advanced stuff. And so obviously if you want to try and keep things simple and you don't want to go hire a systems integrator, then you'd probably want to stick to something like Pabbly or Zapier or something along those lines. But it'll still do all this stuff for you. So the first step is to outline everything, like even with a pen and paper, sit down, write down every single step, and then sit down and just kind of diagram it out, which you can also do with a pen and paper. You can do it with sticky notes on a whiteboard, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you have this perfectly outlined before you get started,
Yeah.
because as soon as you get started, you're going to run into snags here and there. And then also make sure that every single application belongs. Because if you have an application here that's kind of keeping the process held up, then get rid of the application. Like just simplify the process as much as you can. You'll thank yourself later, because
Yeah.
once things start breaking and you have tools everywhere and everything's integrated all over the place, then it gets really messy really fast, and then it gets really hard to fix as you start to scale. So let's say that starts happening and you sign on 10 clients, 15 clients because you think your system's going to handle it, but then things start to get snagged up. Those clients are going to be unhappy. And then once the relationship's burned, it's burned. It's done. There's really no salvaging anything. Anything you do at that point is going to be saving face. And so that was the whole point, was we wanted to cut out as much as possible, cut down on as much time as possible,
Yeah.
because these guys would wait for a few days to get any answer from us. They would wait for a week to try and see their ads go live and all that stuff. And so we wanted to get that down to just a few hours tops.
Yeah, and I'll say just experientially for a client, if they sign up with you and it takes you like 2-3 weeks to launch ads and get results, and there's a lot of what to them feels like pulling teeth. We're like, hey, can we jump on the phone for an hour while I walk you through this? Like the more complex that experience is at their side, the lower the perception of everything that comes else after. As where if you can be like, hey, can
Exactly.
you just click this link, click a couple, approve, 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 and then everything will be set up in our back end kind of thing. They have a very different experience if you're like this professional, well run, well thought out organization. And even if like the ads you run later are half as good as the ads you would have
Yeah,
run,
no, they're happy.
they'll be happier with you because their perception of you is this professional, kind of well run, got my back, ducks in a row kind of agency.
A lot of that comes down to trust, actually. Like they trust you more when they know that you have your ducks in a row. They trust you more when it seems like you have a well-oiled machine in place. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with employees too. Like when you have an onboarding process for employees, they automatically get their company email, they automatically get the login to the project management software, they automatically start getting their training assigned to them. That stuff matters, because then they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, I'm in the right place." That's how you get A-player employees that want to
Yeah.
stick around for a long time.
And not only that, I've found that you can take the same employee, often like same family even. I used to have like two sisters who worked together. And if you do this and don't do this, you'll have dramatically different experiences of the same employee. A lot of people think like, like it's
Yes,
very binary, like good employee, bad employee. But the truth is, a lot of time, how you show up is how they show up. And the same people can be B and C level players, can become A players when you become an A player kind of
exactly.
organization.
It's kind of the same thing in football, right? Like you have one player on one team, he doesn't do that well for years on end, so the team just kind of gets rid of him. Another team picks him up, and he just blows it out of the park.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so really, that's he just has a better organization behind him at that point. And so that's how employees feel too. It's really no different from that. And so, like I said, once you have everything kind of diagrammed out here, you've simplified everything. You know this is your process, and it's time to build it. And so, like I said, we use a tool called Integromat. It used to be Integromat. It's Make now, but it basically just gives us these little nodes that kind of let us get everything in place. And so, what we want to do is kind of figure out what the flow is. Once we've kind of outlined what everything is, we come down here and try and diagram out the flow. And so,
So can I
realistically,
just
we want
say,
the one
like,
click onboarding.
I know I'm cutting you off, but like, just imagine, guys, that you're running this shit, and all of this is happening in the background automatically. Like, yes, there's a journey to get there, but like, you sign a new client, and then
Oh, it
like
cuts down to
accounts are being,
hours.
like, hours and hours of work is happening in the background automatically for you. The emails are getting out, the clients are being notified, and they're like, man, this company's really fast and on top of it. And really, we're just using technology to do that.
Exactly, exactly. And like I said, that's why you don't want to overcomplicate it. Because like if
Yes.
you start to put tools in here that don't integrate well, you start to try and streamline things in a different way, it can break the process that you already have in place. And what we're trying to do here, like if you've ever read the book Built to Sell, that book is all about turning your business into an investment. And you want your business to be an investment because nobody wants to buy something that doesn't just work for you automatically. And so in that book, like Alex Stapleton, like he actually sits down with his mentor, and the guy starts asking him, okay, well, what is your top service? What's the service you usually do the best at? You usually fulfill the most of? And he talks about logos, and he gets him to sit down and like kind of outline every little step. Okay, well, what's your logo process? And so he sits down and tells him, okay, well, step one is this. We try and get them some creative questions out so we can get an idea of their personality. We try and understand like what they're looking for to represent it, because they did a lot of product logos, they did a lot of
Yeah.
business logos, and ultimately what they had to do was go all in on that logo service and just sell logos. They had to get rid of their poster service. They had to get rid of the services that they had for other clients. Their biggest client they had to let go because all they were doing moving forward was logos. And so
Yeah.
he was really scared at first in the book. Like as you read it out, that book's really entertaining because it's kind of story based.
Yeah.
And so as you get through that book, he talks about how he tried to simplify his agency so he could kind of step out of it over a 2 year span. And so what he did was he just sat down and outlined that whole logo process and just hired people to fulfill on the logo process, got rid of any employees who weren't on board with it, got rid of any clients who weren't on board with it, and just became the best logo service. And then eventually became something that somebody wanted to buy. Because at the same time, if you want to sell your business at some point, nobody's going to want to buy it without you being there with like a 5 year
No.
buyout clause pretty much, because they're taking all the risk. And then at the same time, if you don't fulfill on your duties, you walk away with nothing and they still get
Yeah.
the business. And so it's really a volatile environment. You really want to try and turn your agency into a well-oiled machine. You want it to be a Ferrari. You want it to just work. And so that's the biggest thing for us when we came into this. After I read that book, I'm like, okay, what can I do to streamline this even further? What can I do to simplify our service even more? And then your book actually explains a lot of that stuff too, actually. That's a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that got
we are
really good.
definitely very much on the same page. And I'll tell you why I'm such a big deal believer in it. Is like, a lot of times people think I want to build this $500 million company, this $1 billion. I have people who come to me with those kind of dreams, and I'm never ever trying to discourage someone's dreams. But I always just tell them, like, two companies that come to mind is Amazon on day one sold books and only books, and
Right.
they only wanted to be the best in books. And McDonald's, as you know it today, is very different than how they scaled their empire in the beginning. They sold hamburgers and only hamburgers, and they eventually added French fries and Coke, but very, very simple menu. Like, you can get burgers and you can only get
Yep.
more burgers, and did that over and over. And then eventually, when they had scale, they could, you know, elaborate on their existing processes. But the journey of scaling is not trying to be Amazon today and offering 500 different things. The journey is like, how can we just be the fucking best at books? And then
Right.
simplifying that thing and owning a little space. And then what'll happen is you get known for that. And then maybe later you may want to add services. But the reason this doesn't work is because when you start scaling and doing all this custom shit, then like this client takes 20 hours, that one takes 15, and it doesn't go very fast. As where if you're just cranking out burgers, it takes time to build the burger system, but eventually the burger system like works on its own without you.
Well, and that's just it too. Like I read another book on that too. It was called The E Myth, and in
I
the
know,
E
dude. I
Myth,
was
it
actually
kind of
just looking for those both a second ago. That's why I just like rolled away,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
couldn't find them.
exactly. Well, I mean, when you get into systems, those two books are essential. You got to read those two books. And the E Myth will like kind of breaks down. You're trying to build a franchise, and you want to try and build like a turnkey franchise model into your business. And what that means is like we really want to get these processes as simplified and as automatic as they can possibly be, so that we can take this business and duplicate it 1,000
Oh,
times, and it works the same way
there we go.
over and over and over again. Yes,
Build to
amazing
sell.
book.
Found it finally. Um, this is an eye opener. If you combine, like as he's talking, the ideas in Built to Sell as well as the ideas in eMyth, you'll really, really understand how to take yourself the fuck out of your own agency. For those of you guys who don't want to be, I hear it all the time. Like usually people are in like two different trains of thought. Either I just want to be the marketing person, and I don't want to do any delivery, or the opposite. I just want to sell SEO and I don't want to ever have to sell those things. And the answer either way is to have one like specialized thing and then build systems around that thing so you can have those things done without you having to always be the ones pushing the buttons, turning the knobs, pressing the triggers, and instead your checklists and processes and things like that do the heavy lifting for you,
Exactly.
or in Chase's case, your automations.
No, exactly, exactly. That's the whole point. Like that's the whole theory behind it is we want to simplify things as much as possible. So don't offer every single thing out the gate. Like if you watch the Founder, the movie The Founder about the McDonald's, the guy
Yeah,
who's
great
The Rock
movie
who
by the
started
way.
McDonald's. Yeah, that one was amazing. And I remember the one scene in it when he walked into one of his franchisees and the guy was selling like chicken and mashed potatoes and hot dogs. He's like, "This is not going to work. You guys can't be doing this." Because he had the other guy sit down with him and tell him like, well, here's how you're going to streamline your business, and here's what you need to do. That you guys are a real estate company, and this is what you need to focus on. And so, it's really really cool, kind of how they tried to take that and implement it in. Like they started to just get the franchisees in. They would secure the location. They would make sure everything got in, and then they would send the franchisee through what they called Hamburger University. And that wasn't so they could go learn make hamburgers. That was so they could learn their franchise system through and through and the way that it needed to work.
Yeah.
Because we have the grill in a certain place, we have the fryers in a certain place, and every single employee and every single role needs to be the same throughout. Like that's how McDonald's scaled. That's how Walmart scaled. They just knew what they needed
Yeah.
as far as like an employee
And as
structure all the way
and
down.
as you alluded to earlier, that's the difference between a $200,000 agency where you want to kill yourself and you're putting out fires every day, and a $200,000 a month agency where your clients just trust you and mostly leave you the fuck alone, and you, other than a
Exactly.
couple reports here and there, you barely even talk to them.
Exactly. And that's the key. Is like you're going to be a lot less stressed, and then you have a business that serves your lifestyle, not a lifestyle that serves your business. And that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Is you want to sit down and diagram this out and make this as well oiled as it can be. And if you simplify it first, if you just sit down and write out everything, decide kind of what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, how can we simplify this service further? Do we really need to offer Facebook ads? Do we really need TikTok ads? Or can we just kill it with Google ads all day? We have a great Google ads media buyer. Maybe we just need to offer Google ads and that's it. Maybe we have a great SEO service and we just want to focus on the SEO service and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just Facebook. A lot of the time it
Yeah.
works. I still see agencies that are wildly successful with Facebook,
Yeah, I
even
can
though
give
it's
you
a
a real life
volatile environment.
example of what you're describing, just so people can wrap their head around it. We had a guy who come in our mastermind who had a really big SEO agency and was having the challenges you're describing of scale, of like there's just a lot of moving pieces and it's a lot to manage. And so we had a conversation that was like, well, what's actually producing the results that you're doing? And one of the things was he was like redesigning their website and having to update all their, like, getting everything SEO compliant. And it was like after a talk, we realized, well, it's just the Google My Business that's really producing the results. So why don't we just like double down on
Right.
that and make the Google My Business and just forget all the fucking web design and the other shit? That's not even producing the result. And so we're like, we'll just trim that piece of fat out. And that eliminated like 60 operational headaches that really just didn't even need to be there because they weren't contributing to the bottom line anyway. And so when you do this process, you'll find that like you can actually have simpler services that are way easier on you to deliver, and then you can build automation around them, do them at scale, and actually not have a lot of fucking stress at all. If you had told me 10 years ago that you could have clients and no stress, I don't think I would have believed you. But I could definitely attest to that is like a fact of
That's
life
the
now.
idea. That's totally the idea. That's kind of why we're kind of moving back into marketing just a little bit, because I feel like we have enough knowledge now to be able to build a marketing agency that's just simple, just offers one service. We can automate the whole thing and it'll just run itself. Because like I mean, really, it comes down to like the hardest thing after you get everything automated is finding good help and finding the best employees. It's a lot easier if you have a well-oiled machine because they'll want to be in that system. They'll want to be there long term because it's
Yeah.
less work for them. They're not so stressed all the time. They don't have client fires to put out all the time. Because if your employees are putting out fires every single day, they're not going to stay long. Those
Yeah.
clients aren't going to stay long. The employees aren't going to stay long. It's a
Yeah.
stressful
I
environment.
can.
It gets stressful.
No, I can
So
confirm that. I actually had a situation recently where I have a virtual assistant. It's a she in the Philippines. She's been awesome. She's been with me, I don't know, like 4 years, 5 years. She's been with me a while anyway. And she told me her husband was looking for work. And I didn't really have a role for him in mind at that point. So I thought, I've always wanted to try like some affiliate stuff. Like maybe I'll have him do my harebrained affiliate schemes and I'll have him like build pages and things like that. And what happened is exactly what you just described, where in her case, she came into our agency. We have well-oiled procedures and processes. There's a world-class onboarding system. She knows what she's going to do. She has training. She has clear responsibilities. There's a chain of command. There's weekly reports, and all of that's like set up. And then he came into, well, let's just try this today and let's try that tomorrow. And I don't really have good instructions for you, but can you Google this? And not surprisingly, by the way, I ended up having to like just pull back on the husband. And I was actually very apologetic because I view that as 100% my fault for not having like a
right,
clear thing. But that's the difference in employees, is like he was never really a productive employee because I didn't set him up to win. And her is one of the most productive employees I've had for a long, long time, because everything you just described we have in place for her, and she knows what she's supposed to do. She knows what's expected of her. She knows how many a day she's got to do. She has processes. She has all the logins. She has all the access.
right.
Like it's all ready to go, and it's all like, even Asana within it, which we use, sends her a notification every week like this is due again, can you update the report? And so she's on top of all those
Right.
things. And in his case, when I was just winging it, it's like it creates a I don't really know what to do here, boss, and I'm stuck kind of situation. And then you can't really be productive together.
Well, there's two sides to that coin too. Like when you have new employees come in and like you have a great training process and they have a lot of support, then they're more likely to just know what they're going to do, hit the ground running. They can just do it. Like when you have to rely on somebody who does a process, when you actually have to hire somebody who's educated and they know everything they're doing, they'll come in and they'll want to do things their way. And it's not going to be doable with a system that we have in place, right? And so we need to make sure that people are following SOPs. We need to make sure that everybody's doing everything by the book all the time. And so if you don't have the book, if you don't have SOPs, then obviously people are going to twiddle their thumbs. They're going to do manual tasks. They're going to do whatever they think needs to be done. They're going to try and fix the process, and it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
And so you got to sit down and get all this stuff mapped out from the get go. You got to figure out what does it take for delivery. So once you have your automations in place, it'll give you a lot better idea of the SOPs you need to have in place, and then you can automatically assign things to people and things like
Yeah.
that too, and just follow my SOPs.
By the way, because you mentioned it earlier, in my opinion, like a well-run $200,000 a month agency, like what Chase is showing you here is what you guys are looking at. Is that's what it looks like, is having like clear processes step by step. Everybody knows what's got to done, who's responsible for each. The communication as well as mapped out, which I think is equally important, is like clients getting a
Yes.
welcome email, they're getting updated, they're getting notified about certain things. Like it's a well engineered proactive process, and I don't think enough agencies are proactive. I think far too many are reactive. Like in my first, nobody told me this, but in my first really big agency, like everything was reactive. A client was like, damn it, Finn, why am I not number one? And then I just call them up and like we'd have an impromptu hour-long meeting. And that kind of like, as you guys put it out, putting out fires, why am I down? Google this. Can you update that? And then you're also like tech support, and they ask you like 8 million random things because you don't have clear
Yep.
defined stuff. And that's what a reactive agency looks like. You can be successful at it, by the way, but you basically just work around the clock and be fucking stressed the fuck out constantly. You can also do what he described, which is to me a much more conducive to a lifestyle business, which is um, have like a simple, well-oiled deliverable that's really great for the client. It's a win-win, but it's also easy for you. So it's like you're not stressing yourself out. And then you build the infrastructure so that there's people to take care of things. So there's communication happening. And then you end up having like a lot easier life. We both happen to live on the beach. Obviously, we're big fans of like living on the ocean. That's
Of
one of the
course.
cool benefits that can happen with that. Like, as they say down here, there's no bad days in Baja. And then the other thing too
Yeah.
is if you really understand finance, you can take what's winning in your agency and you can multiply that very passively in the background. And we've had a few people in our mastermind reach that level too, where their passive income like covers the rest of their life, don't have to do anything. And then they never have to take a client on that they don't want to. So they have like kind of like fuck you power. And what ends up happening is you still take on clients, but every single time you only do it because you want to. And so like anybody who even gives you like 1% chance that they'll be a pain in the ass or they won't be cool or they're not going to be, you just like, you don't need them at all, right? Like there's no reason to
Yep.
say yes to them. And so you end up having this hell yes agency where it's cool clients, you got cool systems, you got a cool deliverable, your employees are happy about it. Like the whole machine is, and that's not to say it's like it's all rainbows and butterflies. I don't want to paint that picture either. Like shit breaks, shit doesn't work.
Oh
Holy
yeah.
shit, we get
APIs
ad
change.
account ban, but there's it's more happy than stressful. And the first agency I built was pretty much only stress. Like I don't even ever remember having like 5 minutes where I was like, yeah, shit's
Oh, me
awesome.
too. Me too, for sure. And we started running Facebook ads in 2016. We tried to build like a little Shopify store and like started doing print on demand stuff and just started to streamline that process as much as possible. We started out with a web agency in 2014. Like we built like just websites and that's all we did. We started doing SEO and stuff from there, thinking we needed to add more to it, but it just got stressful. Like it just got to a point where the clients like we wouldn't talk to them enough. Like this was like 8 years ago. Like, and that's one thing that I realized back then was like, yeah, I mean, setting the expectations is one thing, and then keeping up with them is another thing. Because like they're on the back end, kind of assuming that you're not doing anything. They don't know what you're doing. They don't see
Yeah.
what you're doing. They don't
Yeah,
see
what
the
you
ads
said, by
coming
the
by.
way, I just have to add that if you don't send clients like updates of what's going on, they assume you're doing nothing, not that you're like busy
Exactly.
behind the scenes kicking ass for them.
Even though that's probably what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
it's
you're
more than
probably in there
likely
trying
the
to tweak
reason
the
why you're
ads.
not. Exactly.
And so it's, but they don't see that and they don't know that. And so like every time they come in, they're already mad. And they're like, well, what's going on? I haven't seen any results. I haven't seen any of this stuff. And it's like, man, well, I just made these changes and I just did this stuff here. And like the way they see that is you're just saving face.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, if you're
Backpedaling.
proactive and you're ahead of it, exactly. And so if you're ahead of it and you're telling them, even when there's a problem, hey, I noticed we didn't get as many leads this last week.
Yeah.
Here's what we're doing to fix it. And then you go make the changes rather than just trying to jump on it and trying to make
Yeah.
sure they don't ever see it. Just let them know, like, hey,
Yeah.
man, I noticed you didn't get enough leads this week.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I'm on the back end. We're doing these updates. We're going to test this. They will be a lot happier at the end of that than if
Yeah.
they have to come after you and say, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in over a week,
Yeah.
even though you were working on their account. And so it's
It's
a
who
big
brings up the
difference.
problems. If you bring up the problems before they ask, then they assume you're on top of it. If they bring it up, regardless of whether the fact that you're on top of it or not, it doesn't really matter. In their perception, you're not. And so they're
Yep.
not going to trust you, and you'll feel that distrust through the relationship. As where I just actually had this morning. So it's interesting you mentioned this up. I've got a lawyer. We're running these big omnipresent, like kind of retargeting campaigns on one of his ad accounts, his Google one specifically. Like Google just fucking hates his website. I couldn't tell you why or what, but they just don't like this particular fucking lawyer. And so I just reached out to him, told him like I still haven't fixed the Google shit. I'm still back and forth with these knuckleheads. I'm waiting to get a real definitive answer of why they hate it so we can just fix it. But in the meantime, like, we're amping up some of your other platforms. And then just so you know, like I put your billing on pause for the time being until I get it figured out. So I just want you to know we're on top of this, but like that's the update. It's not pretty, but that's where it is. But the point being of all of that is like because I'm the one who brought it up, because the agency owner brought up the discussion, not the client, then there's trust that comes out of that because I'm not trying to hide issues. In fact, I'm trying to bring them to their attention and let them know they're being worked on. As where if they bring them up, they just assume you didn't do anything, and it's not your
Yep.
fault. They've had so many bad experiences with agency owners promising big empty bullshit that they never deliver on, and so you inherit a bad reputation whether you earned it or not, and you have to be mindful of that. And you have to, what Chase is describing is the more you're proactive, where you're letting them know, the less of an issue all of that becomes down the road, and there's way less fires to put out as a result.
Well, and like I said, that preserves the trust. Like they know that you're on top of it, they know you're proactive about it, and so they still have trust for you. Whereas if you try and avoid the conversation, you don't want to talk to them because you want to try and get ahead of it, but you don't want them to know firsthand, then they're not going to trust you. And at the end of the day, once the trust is gone, the relationship is gone. Everything's just going
Yeah.
to be backpedaling, saving face. That client's burned. They're on their way out.
Yeah.
And so that's usually just what happens. And so that's one thing we noticed that we really couldn't do much about apart from just try and be proactive and just communicate.
Yeah.
And so that's what we started to do is try and implement systems around that. Like I said, we tried to get into Monday.com and we tried to create our client management system there. And that's what we did at first. And we were trying to keep track of client health. We were trying to keep track of how often they were being reached out to. We were trying to keep track of notifications and those things being sent out because those things can be based on the system. If something happens to the actual task that you have in place to keep track of that client, you can have that send a notification to Slack to the right person. And if that person gets a notification, they can get right on top of it. If they don't get on top of it, notify the manager. And so we make sure that we're on top of it all the time. We make sure that we have accountability in place.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will, like, your clients and your team members will appreciate that because at the end of the day, if you're holding everybody accountable, everybody's going to stay accountable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're holding one person accountable and one person isn't being held accountable, you're going to start to create like inside of your organization, like, how can I say this? You're going to start to create like clicks inside of your inside of your
Yeah.
community. Like they're going to start to like, okay, well, this person's doing this person's not doing that. Why am I responsible for this? I'm doing more tasks than them, and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so
And then once
that's why
that
you want to
happens,
have
by the way, then you're
well-oiled.
done.
Oh yeah, no, you're not getting anything done. There's
Yeah.
nothing's going to happen. Like you'll have employees just simply not show up for work and that kind of stuff, and it just creates a volatile environment. And so realistically, this stuff in place is critical. And having that stuff in place and having those notifications go out is critical because then you can stay on top of things. If you didn't get any notifications today, you don't see anything's wrong in your dashboard, man, go to the beach. You're cool. You don't have to do
Yeah.
anything today.
That's
And
the
you
other
know your
thing I
employees are
wanted
on
to
top of it.
say, just to add on to what you're saying, because it's very, very valuable, is I think a lot of us as agency owners, like entrepreneurs, like you mentioned, we got ADD. We're visionary types. We like to dabble in shit. And so some of the hardest things to do is for us is just to take one idea and follow it through all the way to the end. All of us struggle with that on some level, is like taking one
Yeah.
idea and just finishing it into completeness. And so I've found that for me, like a big reason to do all this stuff is because it actually creates a better product for the client. Because if it were up to me to make all the trains come on time, like some days I wake up, I'm tired as fuck. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, kids, let's go to the beach. Daddy's too tired to do anything else. I don't feel like entertaining you. There's lots of shells, and we do that, right? And it's nice to know that when you have this kind of structure, like you're showing, like behind the scenes, client
Yep.
things are still happening, results are still being moved, pieces like important things are happening in terms of your business, and the right people are being notified. And so you can actually walk away and feel totally okay with that. There was a time in my agency where like I must have, this was even before smartphones, but I must have checked my phone email 50 to 100 times a day, like not realizing
Yep.
how insane that was. And now like I can just go to the beach and just leave my phone here. I still bring it with me for pictures, but I don't need to look at it at all, right? Because I know the trains are running on time. I've already notified people about things before they ask. And so what you're showing here, when you get all that like kind of proactive, it's conducive to people like us that are visionary types
Yep.
to see ideas through all the way to the finish, because the software is taking care of the note. Like for me, Asana every Friday says update this report and send it to the boss, right? So like Friday morning there's a report in my inbox that I can open and go, okay, here's how we're doing, and I can get a high level understanding of the business. And if it was up to me to make that report every Friday, there's 0% chance it would be finished because I would be on to something else. But because there's automation making that happen, it like I get it with consistency and you can stay on top of it. So I just wanted to add that because I think it's really
Yeah.
visionary types like us that just don't want to do all this shit. It's like it's really,
Well, I
really
mean,
especially useful.
at the end of the day, it equals peace of mind. Like you can go to the beach with peace of mind. Like, how do you think you're gonna feel when you're at the beach and you just looked at 30 emails? There's client fires here, there's client fires there, and you're just like, you don't want to deal with it because you're so stressed out, and you decide to go to the beach. And it's like, okay, well, you're gonna be stressed out the entire
Yeah.
time you're at the beach, so you're not gonna have any fun. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
relaxing. You're still gonna be stressed. And so at the end of the day, if you have all this stuff in place, you're being notified, you know the right people are on top of it, you're gonna go to the beach and you're gonna have peace.
Yeah.
and it's going to be relaxing. And when you come back, you're going to be so much more energized to work and get stuff done, right? And so at the end of the day, when I was first in my agency, I would check my email as soon as I got out of bed, right? I would
Yep.
check my
100%.
notifications as soon as I got out of bed, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, there's all this stuff I got to do," and
And
I'd
there's fires to
stress
put
from the
out
get go.
always.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
never
peace,
like,
man.
hey, Chase, we just wanted to let you know you're doing a wonderful job and we are so thrilled with your service and we so appreciative. That's not the message you get.
Nope, not at all. Nope. And that's the thing too, is you wake up stressed and now you're not priming yourself. You don't want to go to the gym now because you just want to get ahead of it. And so you're just not going to take care of yourself. You're
Yeah.
going to detriment your health and it just
Yeah.
makes you really unhealthy. And so that's what I realized was if I want to get out of that kind of environment and I want to enjoy my agency, which is possible, right? Then we've got to have this stuff in place. We've got to make sure that we're automating things. We've got to simplify our service. Because back then, we were trying to run Facebook ads. We were trying to run Google ads. We were doing Google My Business. We were trying to have Go High Level and all that stuff set up. And what we realized was most of the results at the beginning were coming from Go High Level. They had a list and they bring their list with them. We'd insert it into Go High Level and they'd get wins. And then immediately they'd be happy. But then they'd start watching the ads and like, oh, we're not getting any results. It's been 2 weeks. And it's like, well, your
Yeah.
database reactivation just got you a bunch of
Yeah. It's
bunch
like
of
making
results.
a great hamburger with mediocre French fries and like, piss warm Coca-Cola.
Yep.
They're, even though they had a great burger, they're going to go, well, the French fries and the Coke were so, and you're better off just going, fuck it. We only got burgers. And then going, this is the greatest burger we ever had. And you'll be
Exactly.
amazed. You'll have happier people because you're not trying to be all things to all people. You're just like, listen, if you want a great burger, we do that. If you want pizza, if you want Chinese food, you want dessert, like those are all good things, but we're just not the dessert store.
Well, one person that really kind of got me on that track and thinking about that differently was Jeff Miller, because
Yeah.
he runs his agency super simple and he doesn't really care about high ticket. He doesn't really care if it's $2,500, $5,000. I mean, he has higher ticket products, but out the gates for a lot of the people that he sells, and he sells them all himself. He does his whole business himself. He's selling it for like $750 a month, and it's
Yeah.
just simple. It's just Facebook ads, and that's it. Like he just runs a simple Facebook ad that he know works, just like the Hormozy style, right? Hormozy licenses out the best ads that he know works. Jeff Miller's doing the same thing. And so at the end of the day, if the database reactivation is what bringing the fast results, and if we really don't need to run super complex ads, I can just simply set up one Google ad to just simply send people to their website, and that works for them. And I can just charge 750 for that. I don't care about making $2,500 off this person because they're going
Yeah.
to be mad at the end of the day, and I'm going to have to
Yeah.
give them a free month anyway, and then I'm going to be losing money anyway. And so like just sell them the $750 service, and let them just take that and reactivate their list as much as they want, set them up with the automations to do that, and then just give them a basic Google ad that just gets them
Yeah.
opt-ins. And don't overpromise anything, and you'll be happy. They'll be happy. Fulfillment's super simple. And at the end of the day, like, why do we need to make high ticket? Why do we need to charge $20,000? Why do we need to charge $10,000? Because at the end of the day, we understand as marketers,
Yeah.
we have to try and add more value to our offer. And if we're going to charge $10,000, $20,000, well, how much more value can we add? We don't need to do that though. We need to just charge what works for us, what works for them, simplify the service as much as possible, and just get more clients.
Yeah.
And the more clients we have, the better team that we have in place. Everybody's just going to be happy because this machine just works. And that's what's going to turn it into an investment. At that point, it becomes valuable. People will want to buy that at that point.
Yeah.
And so once you have it all, the whole flow figured out here, and you have all this stuff kind of just being created on the back end, everybody knows what to do all the time. You have your SOPs in place. We're following SOPs. We're not relying on any one person. The business doesn't rely on any one person. At that point, it gets a lot simpler to just try and get results and keep
Yeah.
people
Can
happy. And you
I
just watch your notifications.
dude, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off a million times, but you just like
No, go
you've
ahead.
got some awesome stuff there. Since you brought up Jeff and his agency, I've seen this a lot, and I mentioned this to our mastermind members. There's a reason why I think this happens, and the reason is the easiest success metric to measure in an agency is dollars. And so often we get caught up in measuring that and thinking it's the single most important metric. And the reason why so many people pay attention to it, because it's the easiest one to look at. You can look at a PayPal account or a Stripe account or a bank account and in dollars and cents, see right on the scoreboard how you're doing. But in actuality, I've met like people who have $5 million agencies that are want to blow it up every minute of every day. I've met guys who charge clients $10,000 a month, keep 500, have 18 million pieces, are stressed out on the
Oh
phone,
man.
traveling on the road, never seen their families. And I've also seen like really simple machines. And there's a hidden metric in there that's not easy to spot. And it's like a leverage of like money to energy. And what Chase is
Right.
describing is when you have these stupid, simple agencies, is to keep clients happy and to earn money and to be able to have a cool life, like the amount of energy input required is far, far smaller than like a much bulkier machine. And so even though on paper you could say, well, this agency makes $5,000 a month and this one makes two, like it would seem like obviously automatically that the $5,000 agency is better than the $2,000 a month agency. But what if their profit margins are only 1,000 over here? They have 18,000 million pieces moving. They have clients who are mad at them. And over here, it's a little simple $2,000 service that can be run with a little tiny VA, an ad, and they're keeping $12.50 a month of it. So it's not necessarily automatically true that this agency over here that can show bigger numbers is actually better than the agency over here. And the reason why people automatically think about it is because the dollars and cents are so easy to measure. But if you actually look at the return on energy, this one is like $12.50 a month is what the profit margins are, and the amount of headaches and bullshit and stuff like that may be far, far higher than the $12.50 a month the person's making over here, where they just like send a monthly report and the clients are happy and they're scaling and it's like it's dog shit simple to
Right.
run. And so this is what our man is kind of like alluding to. I didn't mean to cut you off, but just since you mentioned Jeff Miller, like,
Yeah.
you know, simple agencies are a lot more fun to run and they're a lot more fun to scale in my experience. If you want to like enjoy the journey a little bit and get wealthy in the process.
It's a lot more about serving your lifestyle. I mean, I live here in Baja for a reason. We live next to the beach for a reason. I live here with my whole family for a reason. I want to
Yeah,
spend more time with them. We want to spend more time just kind of chilling
exactly.
and hanging out and just doing more things, right? I want to have more freedom. I don't want to be a slave to the agency. And so, really, when you have a super simple agency, I mean, because the thing is, too, it's like you can charge $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But understand, like, you're going to have more overhead. There's going to be a lot more to take care of. There's going to be a lot more software to pay for. There's going to be a lot more employees to pay for. You're going to need more media buyers to run the TikTok ads, to run the Facebook ads, to run the Google ads. You're going to need SEO experts. You're going to need people out there calling and dialing because nobody follows up with their leads. At the end of the day, you're gonna have to take that off their plate. And so if you try and get all that stuff in place, you're paying for this here, you're paying for this there, you're paying for that there. And so your margins are just razor thin. And so
Yeah.
you see this vanity metric of, oh, I got $100,000 a month agency, $200,000 a month agency, and I'm charging clients $10,000 a month. It's high ticket, but really at the end of the day, you're walking home with $500
Yeah.
out of that 10,000.
Yeah.
And so it's just super stressful and it relies on you a lot because it's a big machine and you don't have the right managers in place a lot of the time. It's hard to find good managers. It's hard to find good project
Yeah,
managers.
I
Most
see it all
projects
the time. People are
are
looking for the next heroic media buyer, and it's almost always because of all the stuff you described. I'm not saying everybody ever who needs a great
yeah,
media buyer, but often they're the media finding the diamond in the rough media buyer is the solution to a lot of that for people. And usually it's actually more if you just had a simpler agency, you wouldn't need such an awesome media buyer. Like in Jeff's case, you mentioned, you know what he's running
yeah.
for dentists? The same fucking ad. Like the one he runs in Florida is the same
It never
fucking ad
changes.
he runs in Utah. It's the same fucking ad he runs in California, right? And when you have that simplicity, like how hard is it to launch an ad when you already know what you're going to say before you signed up the client? You're going to change this one from Florida to Utah and you're going to hit
Yes.
play.
Well, and the biggest thing too is like you don't need to really offer more value in that case. You know what works, and this thing's working. It produces results here, it produces results there. Let's just run the same thing. It's not that big of a deal. I see a lot of people do the same thing on YouTube. They'll just run the same video ad and they'll just change out the names. They'll change out the location once they get something that works.
Yeah.
Because changing out the creatives is really the only thing you can do on the high end, and changing out your catches and all that stuff too, and trying to get people to click and trying to capture attention. Once you have something that you know just produces those results, then just use that for every single client and they'll be happy because at the end of the day, they think they want this and they think they want that and they think they want that. But at the end of the day, they really just want more clients. They
Yeah.
really, if you have something that gets them more clients, they're going to be happy. They don't care what it takes. And so you have to charge less for that. I mean, you can't charge $5,000 for that unless it's like super out there and bringing in 50 clients every single day. But really nobody really wants that. Nobody really cares if you're trying to constantly change out the ads. Nobody really cares if you're running ads here, you're running ads there, you're running ads there. That's just more overhead. That's just more headache. And
Yeah.
the clients don't really understand what you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
and
if
running
you're getting them
20 ads
results,
for
that's
them
all they care about.
is not inherently better than running one ad for them. Can
No.
confirm this.
And so once you find something that works, just use that for every single client and just charge them less. You can just charge them $750 a month and you'll have more clients. And they'll come in, they'll see that, well, yeah, we're going to run this same ad for you. Be upfront about it, set the expectations right. And you say, that's why we only charge $750 a month. I mean, take it or leave it, right?
Yeah, I would
And so
charge
you'll
more
know,
personally, but that's a different story. But
yeah,
still, like, you know, you actually, a lot of times when you think your value to coming to the table isn't like always having to have a custom solution, then you think like you price it for the amount of work. And I think that for me is like that's poor and middle class thinking, that the amount of work invested determines the value of it. And I
right,
can tell you, like, there's been a few things I've had to get fixed around the house, and almost always, like, this is universally true across all niches in all places. Like, people are way too technical. Like, you know, guy comes through, I need my pool fixed, there's a leak in my pool, and you know, they want to tell me like the 27 steps and the chlorine he's going to use and the this and the that and this kind of tile. And I'm like, I don't care, just like how much money to fix it and how much time do you need. And like what do you want, credit card, like what do you want, do you want a fistful of cash, just like I want my pool working, right?
yes, no,
and
exactly right.
and we think like a lot of times that like bringing these complex 20 ad solutions to clients is inherently better than just like one. Nope, I'm just going to run the same stupid simple ad that's worked for other 30 clients and you'll be 31. And a lot of times we think clients won't be okay with that. But what I've learned after 15 years of doing this is they really only want the result of the ad anyway, which, as you described, is the phone ringing and the more business. And as long as that
Exactly.
piece is working, they're far less interested in how the machine works. It's only when my pool's not working that I want to know why it's not working. But when it like works and everything's good, I don't really have any questions. I'm just like,
It comes back to the like vehicles and stuff too. Like a lot of the new vehicles that come out, like hardly anybody knows how to fix them themselves anymore.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, if it runs, it runs. Like it's cool. I'm gonna drive it. It's fine. And as soon as it breaks, I'm probably gonna take it to a mechanic to fix it. So I don't really need to know how it works. I don't need to learn all that stuff. I don't care. And every visionary kind of feels the same way. Like I don't care how it works. Like even with our stuff, when we come in here and we try to explain all this stuff to them, it gets really complex really fast because it's really technical stuff.
yeah,
And the more I explain, the less I have them, right? That they're
yeah.
not going to care at the end of the day. Like, okay, well, what does it do? What's the input? What's the output? That's all they care about. So you just got to kind of sit down and simplify things as much as possible.
So can we talk about this step? Because this is a thing, by the way. Chase is giving you guys a roadmap for removing yourself from your agency, period.
Yes.
Like, he's showing you how to use tools and automations, but this is a roadmap that works, period. And one of those things is, once you have like your processes and procedures, it would be awesome if you could just like give those to an employee or give those to a piece of software, and the very first time everything would magically fucking work, and unicorns and butterflies would come out and the systems would work great. But this is life, and usually, like, I would say more realistic is there's usually like 2 to 3 iterations in my experience before you get those things working and you get them ironed out with like people and systems and like
Exactly.
that. So I'd love if you could just elaborate a little bit on what we're looking
Yeah.
here in step 4. We've probably been
So
talking a long time, so congrats to those you guys have been listening to us over an hour. I'm glad you stay with us.
it's good information for sure. What we're taking though is this stuff here. Like we're looking at what we have kind of diagrammed out here. We got our flow working, so we kind of just understand what's happening. Like the only reason to do this is so you understand exactly what's happening when you get to this, so that when you set this up, it still makes sense to you. You can come back and look at, okay, this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, and then you come over here and set up your nodes to make that stuff happen. And so really this just kind of reflects what we had diagrammed out here. And so this is what it looks like inside of Make as the nodes. Like we have our ClickUp node, which actually sets up the tasks. We route this stuff out to set up their Google Drive, and then we update the Google Sheet with everything. And then at the end of the day, we try and note back to the account manager that they need to actually come and do the onboarding for this client and actually follow up with them and things like that too. And then it can get a little more complex from there because as things start to break, well, we're going to need databases. We have to actually have databases set up instead of just simple Google Sheets because that's not going to work for 100 clients, right? We need to have centralized data so that all of our systems can communicate properly. And then you start to have error handling and that kind of stuff too as things start to fail so that
Yeah.
it just works. And so it gets a little more complex as you go, and it takes a couple iterations to really make it work properly. Can you see this screen here, the make screen,
I
or do I
mean, I
need to
see
reshare?
your implement and test here. Are you
Okay,
trying to show
one
me something
second.
else?
Yeah, there's another. I'll show you kind of how the nodes look. Give me one sec.
This is
See,
some
that's
really next level stuff, by the way, for you guys who are following this, because the end result of all of this is like, yeah, we're talking a lot of tech, we're talking a lot of automation. Is you can sign up clients and have them be really fucking happy and not have to do really anything, very little of
right.
anything, right? And that's the whole goal is we're producing results for people, but we're not investing like shit tons of time and energy to do that. And things are happening in the background, and like I said, it's really great for people like us that we can actually have a little bit of ADD and go try this and try that, and that once you built this machine, that the machine is doing the lifting for you.
Well, I like to tinker around a lot too and just kind of mess with things until I figure out how they work through and through. And then I like to work to simplify things. Like when we build out ClickUp, it gets really complex really fast with all the SOPs and tracking all the automations and tracking all the hats that are inside the company and who's wearing what hat and who's responsible for what, and then reallocating tasks when an employee leaves and things like that. It's all stuff that you don't really realize because like you don't want to have to go through and reassign every single task that was assigned to that person across your whole entire project management system. Instead, you assign everything to the role, and then the person is responsible for the role, and then you kind of relate those things, and then that way you can
Yeah.
take that role and give it to somebody else if somebody's on vacation or if somebody quits or whatever the reason being. And so here, like you want this to fire off, like it's really your trigger right here. You can have it be a webhook that's kind of testing for data, or you can have it be like even a jot form or something like that, and you can send everything through the jot form, and then it'll just kind of test that data. So you can watch for a submission, you can create a new form, whatever you want to do through the jot form. Once this fires off, it's going to start to get the next thing. And so
Yeah.
like you can like plug
This
it
is,
in for
by the
high
way,
level.
I'm just for people watching, this is a lot like Go High Level, where it's a little difficult to explain to somebody what it is, because it's really a platform you can build things upon, and so there's a lot of different ways you can take it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing some things out there. I'm not saying all you guys would want to use this, but like for me personally, if I was to use something like this in our agency, like one of the things I would want to do is automate ordering a welcome package for a client. It's so that as soon as they
Right.
sign and they're paid, that a welcome package gets ordered and then it's off in the mail, and then I know that a day later, 5 days later, whatever, a package is going to arrive at my client's mailbox and they're going to be really happy. Well, when you're doing this at scale, you want those things to happen automatically. Like, what
Right.
Chase is talking about, those are, then we mentioned like getting passwords, especially like those of you guys who are doing like web design, like just the amount of pictures and shit you got to get from people, like having a simplified way of gathering all that information where a client can just click share folder and upload whatever they need and you automatically get it. Or like we mentioned, the communication, or maybe you want to order an Amazon gift. I'm not saying you do, but it's one of those things, like the possibilities here are endless. So, it's a little bit like
Exactly.
Lego, what we're looking at, where you can build anything with a Lego.
Well, and that's why it's important to diagram it out. Like even with Legos, when you're trying to build really complex things, like you usually follow some kind of a diagram picture. You usually have something in your head that you want to try and get out. And so it's good to kind of sit down and write it out first and then diagram it out and do your whole flow and things like that too. Because
Yeah.
then you understand how you want things to fire off. Like, well, do I want it to fire off when somebody submits the form? Or do I want it to fire off, like, let's say when a Stripe payment goes through? Because like you can integrate with Stripe and stuff here too, and test for when an actual event happens or when they actually make the payment. We can list the payments out and stuff like that too, and track all of our payments coming through and send those to a ClickUp dashboard if we want to.
Yeah.
All kinds of things, and so you can
So
really keep
imagine
track
like a
of your business
client
on another
pays,
level.
you send a gift in the mail, it automatically sends it to a report. So you can see how much money you've made in one little dashboard. You can see where the clients are managing it. Like, these are the kinds of things you guys can build out of this.
Exactly. And so, like I said, really, it just takes diagramming it out. Just kind of sit down and work out what needs to happen when, just step by step. Like just sit into your note taking app and just say, okay, this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And then you can sit down and think about it a little more. Okay, do I want this to fire off when the Stripe payment's made, or do I want it to fire off as soon as the client submits the onboarding form? And then as soon as they submit the onboarding form, like you can have them put all their branding stuff in there too. Like you can have put their logo in there. You can have them put their colors, their company colors, and things like that
Yeah.
and stuff too. Like you can put their company name, their address, all that stuff, and then feed that right into Go High Level, and then have that update all of the custom fields inside of High Level
Yeah.
automatically. So that way, their landing
Yeah.
pages and their emails and their
So
text
imagine the
messages are
client
ready to go
signs
as soon as
up
they sign up.
and they sign up and they click the payment link, and then it forwards them to a landing page, and that landing page, says, welcome Chase, or welcome Frankie.
Yep.
We're so honored to have Chase Snow and Associates as part of our, and they see their own branding and their own logo, and it's like this personalized welcome page. Like, that has a big impact on somebody, and when you can do that automatically without you having to actually like stand there and create a page and do all those things. Like you can create big wow effects on clients that are very easy to deliver.
Exactly. And they'll stay with you long term after that. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I love being these guys are amazing." And then they just trust you that much more. They're having an amazing experience. And the client experience is everything, because as soon as
Yeah.
the client experience is burned, they're not going to stick around long. That's just really what it is. As long as they're having an amazing experience, they're going to stay with you long term. And so that's how it kicks off. Like that's the first little
Yeah.
cherry on the top. As soon as they pay you, the payment goes through, they get their onboarding form automatically. They fill out the onboarding form, they automatically get access to all their accounts and everything immediately. And when that happens, they feel like what they paid for, it's all gone through already. They didn't have to wait 3 days to get their login to their account. They didn't have to wait 2 weeks for the ad to go live, and everything just works. And they can automatically start sending emails out the gates inside of High Level, because you can automatically assign the Twilio number. You can immediately put their email and stuff in there,
Yeah,
and then put their
you can
branding and all
text
that
them,
stuff,
you
and it
can
just
send them a
works.
voicemail. Like you can do some pretty
Exactly.
gnarly shit with that.
I mean, look at all the applications we have access
But
to.
like
Like
imagine, for example, like this is just where my mind goes to like one way you might use it. So imagine a client sends you or sends or like pays you, and then you have an automation that sends a message over to Go High Level, and then you have like an automation that calls that client on the phone, goes specifically to their voicemail, and just says,
yes,
"Hey, this is Frankie Finn, and I'm really, really honored that I just found out you joined with us, and I just wanted to say thank you. I just saw your payment link in my inbox. We're so honored. Just to let you know, we're going to be working on these things right now, and here's what you can kind of expect going forward. And I just wanted to really, really, take the time to welcome you and say thank you, and hang up. And you can have that happen automatically every single time a client signs up, so that
yes. And see, that's just the onboarding side of things too. Like you can actually automate setting up a lot of their stuff with ClickFunnels. A lot of like Go High Level, you can automatically add them to a campaign so they get certain messaging and things from you. And like I said, you can have it set up like ad accounts and things like that too. Like Google actually has a ton of different little nodes and stuff here that you can use. Like you can use Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Data Studio to update things from there, send reports automatically, send out the KPIs, update your dashboards with the KPIs, send messages to Slack when the KPIs aren't in order. So like you can come over here and like actually curate your messages back to Slack and things like that too. And then obviously update the dashboards in ClickUp. And so with ClickUp usually just watches its custom fields. And so you'll just want to update the custom fields with KPIs and things like that too automatically. And so it's all stuff that can be done on the back end. It's all stuff that can happen automatically. And like I said, when you wake up and you don't see any notifications, you go to your dashboard says everything's fine. You have nothing to worry about today. Well, there's no point in you even showing up to work today, because
right,
everybody's got it handled. It works.
right,
And so that's how you achieve that with the automations on the back end. You can do that with Zapier. You can do that with Pabbly. You can do that with Make. I choose Make usually. That's what we use, and then we also use ClickUp as our main software for that kind of stuff too. Which we build out our 5 systems into ClickUp when we try and build out project management, because that's like the core of everything. The first thing we start with when we start to actually build out automations and things like that for the agency is their project management software, because that's the first thing that needs to be in order. It doesn't really matter if it's Asana. It doesn't really matter if it's Monday. It doesn't matter if it's both. Like I said, I like to simplify things into one single login for my people. That's why we usually just use ClickUp, because we can do all of our client management through ClickUp. We can do all of our team management through there. We can do the business technicalities. We can keep track of all of our
yeah.
finances, all of our roles, all that stuff. We keep track of all the automations that we set up, because there's
And I
more
think
than just the
ClickUp, by the way,
onboarding,
is like
offboarding.
$10 a month or some shit like that. For those of you guys
It's
wondering,
it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month, something like
yeah,
that. It's really
it's
not expensive, and you don't
even
need to
you
have your
guys
whole team
starting
in there.
out can afford that.
Well, and the big thing too is like ClickUp gives you guest spots, and so like most of my team is in ClickUp through guest spots. Like I don't have to pay for guests. We actually just get a certain amount of them that we can put in there, and then we just assign them tasks and things like that from there. I'll put the clients in there too and assign them tasks and things like that too. It just works for us as far as the SOPs and stuff, which I can show you a little bit of that. Show you our ClickUp here real quick. Actually, we're doing some marketing and stuff for this person right now. And so just to give you an idea of that real quick, like our Mario, he's our video editor, and like he was updating this video, he sent it through for a revision, and then the client comes in and she kind of gave us exactly what her feedback was for everything, and everything just kind of works. We can see what their communication was back and forth. We know exactly what the video was
Yeah.
for. We have
This
all of her
this is
content
another
stuff
one
coming
that I
up.
wanted to just share with you guys, because I've heard some pretty cool stuff from our mastermind members. Is using some of these tools is, if you got clients that like to communicate 3 different places, like some clients are email, some are text, some use Slack, whatever, you can send them all to a centralized dashboard, so you can talk to them all in one place, and they still
Right.
feel like they're being talked to in whatever their native thing is. But you don't have to try and then manage an Instagram conversation, a Facebook conversation, 5 emails, which isn't such a huge deal when you have like a small number of clients. When you have like 100 plus and you're doing that at scale, just managing the conversation across like 8 different platforms can make you go fucking mental.
Exactly, exactly. And then, like I said, the client management thing was a big, big, big deal for us. We wanted to keep track of client health and things like that, and like have all these custom fields in place, know exactly what communication's going on and where, and then keeping track of all the client data and all that stuff too, and all of our notes and things like that as we start to have like follow-ups and things like that with clients too. And so that was all stuff that was super important to us when we actually got into this. And then we actually have our active projects and stuff like that here too. And so the idea here is like we wanted to have our major systems here. And the major systems are, let me pull it up here one sec. It was in our master class. And so I'll show you this master class page here real quick. So this was the landing page for our master class that we did last month. And the thing that we wanted to point out was the 5 major systems that we actually build into every single project management software. It doesn't have to be ClickUp. It can really be any project management software at all, whatever works for you. And so really you just want a place to manage your team and clients. You want a place to manage your service delivery. You want to manage your capacity defense. You want to manage your software and tools, content and marketing, and things like that. And so really what that comes down to with your service delivery, like whether you're doing SEO services or whether you're doing like Google Ad services, you want to be able to keep track of KPIs, you want to keep track of client campaigns and things like that. You want to keep track of what changes are being made and where and when, so that when a client does come to you, you can say, okay, well, let me pull up your profile here. And you pull up the profile. I see this happened. I see this happened. I see this happened. You can even assign them to the profile so they can see what's happening in real time too, and that creates a lot of transparency and trust for them too. And then like I said, the client management is the major thing. We wanted to have relationships with the service delivery, so we create our client list and then list out every single client like I showed you, and then we start relating those clients back to the service delivery stuff. We start relating all that stuff to our capacity defense, because we can only do so much as a team, and you have to protect your team, you have to protect your capacity, right? We don't want the visionary coming up with ideas that are going to throw a wrench inside of what's already working. And so we want to be able to analyze those ideas before we decide to do something. And so realistically, we don't want somebody like like with my wife, she's the project manager here. And so she's responsible for the day-to-day operations. And so for me, if I want to implement something in the business, I have to submit it through capacity defense so that the team can analyze it and then make sure that it is something that's realistic for the team to be able to handle. And then from there, because like I said, when you protect your team, when you care about your team, they care about you. They'll work for you. They'll make sure that they stay there long term. It's the same thing with the clients too. When you have a happy team, you're going to have happy clients. And then we use it as a business HQ too. Like it's basically where we list all of our SOPs. Are the SOPs good or not? We like to list out our SOP
Yeah.
health and make sure that the SOP actually fulfills what it needs to. Same thing with the automations. We want to list out all the automations that we have out there, because we have automations to set up client accounts. We have automations to track our KPIs. We have automations to send out
Yeah.
messaging when KPIs aren't in order. We have all kinds of things going out all the time. And so it's good to keep track of that stuff. You don't
Yeah.
want to have arbitrary automations out there just happening and you don't know what's happening or when or if it's even
Yeah.
working,
What
things like
Chase
that.
is alluding to, by the way, is when you guys hit when you start topping out a stage two being you have employees, and now you're like transitioning into stage three where you're like full-time manager, that this stage and above, you have to be able to like look at your business and from like a single screen look at like 4 to 8 numbers that tell you how everything's doing. It tells you the whole health of everything. How are we doing in
Right.
sales, leads, retention, how our delivery going, when's the last time we talked to clients, like all those kind of things that you want to look at. And it's very, very hard because there's no real, at least that I know of, like custom simple report where you can just look at, here's the health of my business in 4 numbers and have it tracked in one place. So what he's describing is a system where you can log into one single place and you can get a snapshot of how your business is performing and know the health of your business in like 10 fucking minutes, or like less than that actually. And then you can look at like, okay, this number good, that one, why are like we so far behind on deliveries? Oh, we need staff here. And then not only that, it can help you fix problems a lot faster, where you can say, hey team, I called a meeting because I noticed we're falling way behind on the delivery side of
Yep.
things. everybody, I want you guys all eyes and ears focused on solving this problem, and you can build the whole team to be able to move the needle in a big way, really, really quickly, because you know exactly what to work on. And so I know there's like, it sounds like a lot what he's talking about, but it's like, imagine knowing, how you guys are doing hiring, how the deliveries are, how the team's doing, how the communication's going, and being able to see that all in a single place and know, and even have feedback from the clients where like where you're at in that journey and
Yep.
how they're seeing it. Um, that's the kind of
So
thing
for
he's talking
us,
about here.
yeah, exactly. We bring everybody into ClickUp, the clients, the team members, everybody. We bring everybody into the same place so that everybody can kind of communicate, see what's going on. And the clients are really only seeing the tasks that are assigned to them. They don't see everybody else's tasks, just the ones that are assigned to them, so that they can stay on track of what's being done for them. And at the end of the day, I mean, they can actually give us feedback on every individual thing if they need to, but that doesn't mean that we change what we do. So you got to have like hard SOPs, like this is what we do, this is the procedure for every single thing, this is our standards for this is our culture, the way we run things, and we don't let anybody kind of trip that up. We just like to have transparency. We like to, everybody to see what's going on for them in real time. And so that works for some things, some other things it doesn't work for. But at the end of the day, like I said, you want to try and outline every single thing inside of your business HQ, like all of your SOPs, all of your automations, all of the roles that exist inside of your company. Um, like I said, in that book, The E Myth, like he actually described. Oh, who was it? It was one of the big computer companies back in the day. IBM. It was
IBM.
IBM back in the day, and the guy that started IBM and founded IBM, he said that he had a vision of what the business would be 10, 20 years from then. Like he knew exactly what that business was going to grow into, and he wanted to build for that business for the future. And so what that means is come in and figure out exactly every single role you're going to need. Like don't decide that you're just going to do everything. You need to be versatile as an agency owner. Like it's going to be different for you at 10K. It's going to be different at 30K. It's going to be different at 50K. It's going to be different at 100K. Your role is going to change at every single stage. And so you got to be able to pull yourself out little by little as you go. And you don't want to be responsible for
Yeah.
every single thing. You
Yeah.
want to take that high level
I
view
know.
and figure out what you can do as the person to drive the company forward and not have to actually do everything. Because if you have to step into another role, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you're actually losing money by being in that
Yeah.
role
Yeah.
because
Anytime
that's
you're
better
doing
suited to
$2
somebody
an
else.
hour work when you should be doing $1,000 an hour CEO work, And
Exactly.
Chase, I just want to say I could probably talk to you for like the next 80 hours, but just because I am mindful of the fact that your time is
Yeah.
very valuable and my kids are going to wake up soon and crash the party
Fair,
a little
fair.
bit here. Um, Wonder if we could just, for those who are interested in getting your help with something like this, like, let's talk a little bit about next moves. And then if it's cool with you, I'd like to invite you back and we can do some more parts of just all the cool shit you can do
Yeah.
with automation. Cause I think you can help our people in probably dozens of different ways, but let's talk about working with you. Those of you guys who are interested in getting something like this built in your agency, what's the next move? How do they reach out to
Yeah.
you?
So I have a website. It's chasebsnow.com, and it pretty much has a VSL and stuff on here that kind of describes what we do. It will actually have a form here that you can fill out if you want to try and work with us or anything like that. You can come watch the video. You can come see all the things that we are kind of capable of. We've outlined a lot of it here. Um, and you can get a good idea of like what we do just from this video and from this website. It'll kind of give you an idea if you want to hire us or not, or if this is something that's for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we start with a strategy session. So if you want a strategy session, please come in, fill out the form. We can schedule that for you, and we can pretty much go from there.
All right, my guys. I like it. Chase B Snow. It sounds like Chase BS now. I like it. We're all it's a little easier for me to remember, even though you got some really awesome stuff today. I really appreciate you doing this, by the way. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to hang out sooner than later because I love what you guys are building here. In fact, I talked to you a little bit before we recorded, but I said this to people. I'm like, this is almost so advanced. I don't think people will fully grasp this the first time through. So we might have to do a few of these, but what Chase is talking about is really like the keys to taking yourself out of your agency altogether, which is the ideas of like one simple deliverable, checklist, processes, and then using automation
Right.
to help fill in the pieces there. And it's, the kind of thing that can build great client experiences that don't require you doing all the little pieces and little $2 an hour work. And when you can remove yourself like that. So I would also say, if you guys are on Facebook, they can send you a message on here. Is that cool
Oh,
as well?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You might want to add me as a friend though, because otherwise it just goes to the message request or everything. If you
No.
add me as a friend, I'll add you back for
All right.
sure.
Cool. If you guys are friends of us, you know, he knows you're the right people. All right, my man. I'm gonna hit end recording here, and thank you guys who stuck with us this whole time because you guys are legends.